Check. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? It's a tradition to honor our fallen comrades. So prior to the beginning of the ceremony, I'd like everyone to please rise and remove their hats for the playing of Amazing Grace. Thank you. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first annual National Vietnam Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony. It's a great honor for historic programs to present this ceremony and parade for our Vietnam veterans. Now I'd like to please ask you to please stand for the presentation of colors by our Joint Service Color Guard, led by Staff Sergeant Crowder, and joined by members of the Army, Marine Corps, and Air Force, for the playing of our national anthem, performed by the Marine Forces Pacific Band, joined by the Wheeler High School and the King's Academy High School Band, under the direction of Staff Sergeant William Hockey.
All their colors. Right. Pace. Forward. Punch.
Thank you. You may be seated. I'd also like to acknowledge the United States Coast Guard representative in the Joint Service Color Guard as well. Welcome. Before I start the ceremony, I'd like to ask all of our Vietnam veterans and Gold Star families from Vietnam to please stand. On behalf of the National Vietnam Veterans Day Parade Committee, and historic programs in the Nation, Veterans Day Parade, the sacrifice of those who fought. Today, we will commemorate the events of the past on behalf of the grateful nation. We are honored to be with you. Our Vietnam veterans, you are great. We thank you, we love you, and will always remember your courage, your valor, your dedication to freedom and liberty. We are also proud to welcome members of our allied nations, Australia, Republic of Korea, Thailand, New Zealand, Vietnam.
You two right
It's
here
my
at the
great
stage.
honor
Rest
to
you guys
officially give you the welcome home you did not receive 55 years ago.
You three over
Welcome
on that
home.
side. You four right here on this side.
Let's give them a big round of applause. Our students are passing out specials to remember the people who are Vietnam veterans.
Just go ahead and start handing them out. Okay. You got one? Yep, got one. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
It is my great honor to, you may be seated.
We're a Gold Star family.
It is my great
There you
honor
go.
to
We'll give
introduce
you
you
one.
to our speakers for today's ceremony. Our first speaker
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
is a little nervous, so let's give her a big round
I
of
gotcha.
applause.
There you go.
We have a student from Wheeler High School. Her name is Najala Nichols. She's in the 10th grade, and she plays clarinet in the Wheeler High School band. Let's give Najla a big round of applause.
First, I just wanted to say that I'm honored to be here with all of you, and that I understand the sacrifices that you have made. I come from a military family, and my mom, she was never
Thank you guys for your help.
home. My mom and my dad were both stationed here, and they were both never around, so my grandma had to raise me. And sacrifice you not being with your families, being away from your families. And behalf on Wheeler High School and my generation, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great honor to introduce our next speaker today. Mr. Ron Hahn is the Director of Veteran Services for the State of Hawaii Department of Veterans Affairs. He's a retired Air Force Colonel. Would you please welcome Mr. Ron Hahn?
Thank you so much, Earl. How about a big hand for Nikata, who just was up here earlier? Big hand for her. Both of my children attended Wheeler. At that time, it was an intermediate. Now I think it's a middle school. When I was serving in the service, so it brings back good memories.
Thank you.
And I thought she did a fine job. Let's start us off right.
Okay, there you go.
Aloha. We're gonna have to do better than that. There you go. Aloha. You got it. On behalf of the state of Hawaii and Hawaii Office of Services, our appreciation to all of the marching participants from across our nation and abroad, our allied partners, our distinguished guests here with us today, especially, and Earl already came to the punch, our Vietnam veterans and their families who are here today. A big round of applause for them. Now, special thanks goes to great organizers, Master Gunnery Sergeant Earl Murray. You know why you can't keep up with Earl? Because you can't hit hiding out, but another great guy, Chris Meeker and Colonel Gene Castagnetti. Colonel Castagnetti, 50th commemoration of the Vietnam anniversary here in Hawaii, and we did a long week-long of events, culminating in the biggest parade that this state has ever gone through, honoring our Vietnam veterans. And he's also here today. Big hand. So Earl and Joel, this is the first annual National Parade on Vietnam Veterans that's going to be holding every year. It looks like it's going to meet or exceed what we did back in 2017. Again, hats off to those exceptional leaders and their staffs, especially historic programs, for honoring those who have served our nation. Now, I would also like to recognize Brigadier General Wayne Shanks. He told me not to do this, so that's why I'm doing it. His wife, Janelle, brother-in-law, David, and his wife, Marilyn, all the way from Colton, South Dakota. Would you please stand, please? Thank you, General Shanks. General Shanks served in the Vietnam era and multiple times in the Gulf War, with over 40 years of service to our nation. I have known him for 30 years. We're brothers from another mother. We're honored to have him here, and he'll be marching today with his family. General Shanks, we honor you. Now, as the son of a Vietnam veteran who had 3 uncles who were boots on the ground in Vietnam, their service and sacrifice profoundly affected me to serve for 20 years with the United States Air Force. Despite the challenges my dad and my uncles faced when they came home, like many of you did as well, it never changed their resolve and their deep love for their country. In my circle office, I have a plaque above my desk with the names of Maniho, Albinio, Nascimento, Honda, Randall, and Peralta, along with their unit patches and the multiple years and tours they served in Vietnam. Would you gentlemen please stand? They don't know. They're just like General Shanks. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, these distinguished Vietnam veterans are still living and thriving today and do their best to support other Vietnam veterans in need. It is also a constant reminder to me and my staff to serve those who served us. This morning talked about the examples of valor. Truly, our Vietnam veterans are men and women of valor. Big hand for these people of valor. Now, as I close, we must never forget the ultimate sacrifices of the more than 58,000 whose names are etched in the Vietnam Memorial's polished black granite in Washington, D.C., and the 1,313 names of Hawaii warriors etched in the Vietnam Memorial on the state Capitol grounds, and especially their reminders of the price of freedom and liberty. Today and every day, we honor them and those veterans still carrying the torch of freedom. God bless our Vietnam veterans and families, and welcome home. Aloha and aloha.
Thank you, Ron. Ron mentioned the Black Wall in Washington, D.C. On that wall, etched over 58,000 names. We have with us today some Gold Star families who lost family members in that war many years ago. I'd like to recognize our Gold Star families. If you're here with us today, please let's recognize our Gold Star families. Could you please stand? This ceremony is as much for those men as it is for men and women as it is for all of you today. It's a great honor for us to present this to you. Now, I would also like to recognize a special group. We have two representatives from the local Vietnamese American community here in Oahu, Mr. Chan Pham and Mr. Tan Lee. If you could please stand. Just give them a round. And let's have our Vietnamese Americans. Please stand and be recognized. Now, it's a great honor for me to introduce our next speaker. When I moved to Hawaii a couple of years ago, this gentleman was one of the first people that I met. And since then, he's not only become a great mentor for me as a retired Marine, but as a great friend and confidant. This gentleman is a retired Army colonel. He is a Purple Heart recipient, and he is the president of the Hawaii Veterans Center. I'd like to please give a warm welcome to my dear friend and colleague, Colonel Ed Cruikshank.
Good afternoon. One thing you should never do is follow Ron Hahn when he's speaking, because we never foreknew what he was going to say and what he was going to say, so I'm going to have to wing it. But, Ron, you did a great job. My name is Colonel Retired Ed Cruikshank. I was very proud to serve in Vietnam with 2nd and 17th Cav, 101st Airborne Division. I have great memories, and what happened there and the contacts we made with your fellow soldiers was one we never forget. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go a little off with what I said. Every 2 years, I fly to the mainland and we get together with all the people that we served with or with the companies that I trained. Right now, as time goes on, as we're getting older, and obviously the numbers keep dropping. The other day, I got a call from Bob Grossman, who was my platoon sergeant, and he basically said that we lost another. So everyone here that served in Vietnam, all I can tell you is do the best you can, enjoy your family, travel, do whatever you can before something goes wrong. Example for me, I had 2 operations. It all was a result of repelling in Vietnam for the CAV, as you all know. And the point is that you can't get around. So I say to myself, son of a gun, I should have done a lot more traveling. I could afford it, but you're so busy working. And generally, you know that. You never took any time off. From what Ron just said, you're always a busy bee. But to all of you here, what I want to mention about Oahu Veterans Center and Consul was, and I looked at the audience and I said, most of you are part of us, but I will follow my orders from Earl. Oahu Veterans Center and Consul is located in Foster Village. We're the home of 45 veterans groups. Why is it so important? Because veterans understand veterans. Veterans can relate to veterans. And that being said, we provide a time for them to join an organization. Every month, the Consul has meetings, and what we do is we ask the head of VA, DBA, all these specialty individuals to come in to carry on discussions and let you know, for those that serve, what your benefits really are. Because I can assure you, what you're entitled to changes all the time as they find out more things that Agent Orange did to all of us. So with that, I just want to tell you, if you have any questions, just look up Oahu Veterans Center if you want to join us and learn more about you, because it's not just about you, it's about what your family, your wife, are entitled to when things happen. I am a true patriot. I love this country. I don't want to talk to everyone, because everyone here loves the country. That's why you're here. And that's why you sacrificed what you did. So I'm going to leave it at that, but say I love all of you. And as far as I'm concerned, you're a band of brothers. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. Now, our next speaker is very special for me, and I think it will be very special for all of you. As a retired Marine Master Gunnery Sergeant, there's only one other Marine that I look up to more than, there is no other Marine I look up to more than a Sergeant Major. For those officers behind me, I apologize, but that's the way it is. Our next speaker is Sergeant Major Alan Kellogg. Now, he's not just any Marine. He's a Medal of Honor recipient and Marine. What I'd like to do is read you the citation of his medal. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty while serving as a platoon sergeant with Company G in connection with combat operations against the enemy on the night of 11 March 1970. Under the leadership of Gunnery Sergeant Kellogg, a small unit from Company G was evacuating a fallen comrade when the unit came under heavy volume of small arms and automatic weapons fire from a numerically superior enemy force occupying well-concealed emplacements in the surrounding jungle. During the ensuing fierce engagement, an enemy soldier managed to maneuver through the dense foliage to a position near the Marines and hurled a hand grenade into their midst, which glanced off the chest of Gunnery Sergeant Kellogg. Quick to act, he forced the grenade into the mud in which he was standing, threw himself over the lethal weapon, and absorbed the full effects of its detonation with his body, thereby preventing serious injury or possible death to several of his fellow Marines. Although suffering multiple injuries to his chest and his right shoulder and arm, Gunnery Sergeant Kellogg resolutely continued to direct the efforts of his men until all were able to maneuver to the relative safety of the company perimeter. By his heroic and decisive action in risking his life to save the lives of his comrades, Gunnery Sergeant Kellogg reflected the highest credit upon himself and upheld the finest traditions of the United States Marine Corps and the U.S. Naval Service. Will you please give a round of applause to our featured speaker, Sergeant Major Alan Kellogg.
Well, I'm here. First time, my whole lifetime as a Marine. I just have one thing to commit. This is my first showing in Vietnam Memorial. I never came in here before. I did work a little bit up at Punchbowl, taking care of troops. But most of the people I deal with, I spent 30 years in the Corps. After that, I don't know, I guess I couldn't get away from it. I went to the VA, and I stayed there for 17 years, for a grand total of a whole bunch of years. And before you know it, I was 73. And still looking around on what's going on. But things are rough. Things are really rougher today than they were 10 years ago. And what we need to do is we can get people in office that will take appropriate action when needed. Some people take their time, seeing they're not really in it, and worry about what's going on. My time in Vietnam, of course, is first time I was over there, I spent 16 months on a 13-month tour. I ended up probably drinking a little too much sauce and told the first sergeant, I want to extend 4 months. And that was it. I left him. 3 months later, he came back to my hooch. He said, "Sir, Staff Sergeant Kellogg, you know that request you wanted? They approved it." And everybody bid it. My father was telling everybody at work, yeah, he's getting smart. He's coming home. And once I extended, he didn't even want to even tell him that he stayed there another 4 months. The only thing I got to say is take care of the veterans we have that are living, and take care of the children, and take care of the people that take care of you. Now, I got 7 kids, so I had a lot of ups and downs in my life. But, and my wife ended up dying. It wasn't for too much sex neither. But she ended up dying, and I got left with the rest of the troops. And I spent the rest of my life, and I'm still doing it, taking care of them. Adding on to my house, make more bedrooms. It's fun. But like I was telling all my friends, I'm sort of looking forward to getting Alzheimer's disease. And the reason behind that is so I can forget some of the assholes I've met in my lifetime. Kaka, take care, and all you veterans out there that are Marines, keep fighting. Regardless of what age you are, you'll make it. Don't worry. That PFT ain't that hard when you get 70 years old. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sergeant Major Kellogg. Give a big round of applause for Sergeant Major Kellogg. There is one other special guest on the stage that I want to introduce today that we're very honored to have. Retired Admiral Mackey, who is the former commander of the Pacific Fleet. Admiral Mackey, we're honored to have you with us today. Now we have one other speaker that I'd like to introduce you today. He's a very personal friend of mine. He also happens to be my boss, so it'd be really nice and give him a big round of applause. I say that in jest. This gentleman is the reason we honor our veterans today. He is a great American patriot who loves his country, and he loves our veterans, and he does so many things and he is continuing to do so many things all over the world to honor our veterans. He is the chairman and president of Historic Programs. Would you please welcome Mr. Joel Biggs?
Thank you so much, Earl. I tell you what, Earl calls me his boss, but we really work as a team, and we've got so many great individuals that are part of that team, and the things that we do for our veterans would not happen without a team of committed individuals who all love America and who all love and appreciate our veterans. I've got kids at home, 4 boys. Now, this will be an indication as to how shallow their mother and their father are, because they all have brand names. It seems like the first thing we saw as we're driving down the road, that's what we named our child. So the first one is Stetson. It's like the cowboy hat. We're from Arizona, lots of cowboys. The second one is Levi, after the breeches, right, the pants. The third one is Docker. Isn't this horrible? Also after pants. And then the last one, my wife says, well, we may as well just name him J. Crew. So that's his name, J. Crew. But these boys at home love watching movies that have heroes. They love watching the Avengers. And they see characters like Thor, and characters like Spider-Man, and characters like Iron Man. And I would tell my boys, and I'd also tell all these young students back there, if you think you know a hero by watching those programs and those movies, you really don't. But because you are here today, you have witnessed and you have been in the presence of real heroes. And you just listened to one speak. Do not ever forget the opportunity that you have to come to the places where history was made, to learn directly from our history makers. You students back there, because of the tireless work of your band directors and your administrators, who allowed you to step out of the classroom and come here to Hawaii to pay tribute to the service and sacrifice of those who are willing to do that, is an experience that you should remember for a lifetime. I'm going to take a minute to make a special presentation. We have at Historic Programs something that we call the History Maker Medallion. This is a medallion that is presented to one who represents the spirit of America through selfless service and whose influence affects positive change in the world. Well, you just heard Sergeant Major Kellogg, and you heard about his story in Vietnam, and we'd like to present this medallion to him at his time. I'll invite Najula, our student representative, back up here and ask her to make that presentation. There's something special about connecting generations. You know, the reason that these young people served many, many years ago was because they wanted to provide future generations with opportunities for freedom and for liberty. They answered the call, and they did all that was expected of them. They say the 2 most important words in the English language, and probably in any language, is thank you. And if there's a group of people who ought to hear that most often, it should be our veterans. If there are a group of veterans who has not nearly heard that enough, it's our Vietnam veterans. Well, we're here today because we want to thank you. I'm not a member of any government organization, even military organization, but I represent 370 million regular Americans who are the beneficiaries of your service and your sacrifice. And I stand before you today to tell you, thank you. That service and that sacrifice does not go unappreciated. We honor you today, and we pray for God's blessings to be upon each of you, for your willingness to answer the call and to go and do all that was expected of you. So I join Earl and so many others who want to welcome you home, who want to pay our respects to you, who want to honor you today on this special Vietnam Veterans Day. And with that, here we go. We're going to start the parade down Kalakaua Avenue. This will be the first time we'd considered doing this in Washington, D.C., because it is the National Vietnam Veterans Day parade. But we thought there's no better host state or host city than Honolulu, Hawaii. And I don't know whether it's the spirit of Ohana, but there's something here that makes people feel welcome. Not only that, but Hawaii was really the place where so many of our Vietnam veterans departed to war and also returned from war. And so it's fitting that this national event be held here. So on behalf of Historic Programs and all great Americans, thank you and God bless you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Joel. Before we conclude our ceremony, there are just a few other dignitaries that I'd like to introduce you today that took the time out of their busy schedules to be here to honor you today. One is very important, and he happens to be a Vietnam veteran. I'd like to introduce you and have you show your respect to Colonel who is the governor's chairman of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnamese War. He is also a Vietnam veteran. Dean, great to have you here, sir. We are also honored to have the State House of Representatives from District 50. Representative Bronco is here today. Mr. Bronco. And these next two people are not just friends of mine, but they're people. And I can tell you, you're very safe today because there are two sergeant majors on this stage and an old master gunny, so I'm standing behind them if we need to. I'd like to introduce you to a dear friend, the retired Command Sergeant Major of Indo-Pacific Command, Sergeant Major Tony Spadero, and his wife, Catherine. Now, please join me in recognizing the Marine Forces Pacific Band under the direction of enlisted band leader Staff Sergeant Will Fihaki, and joined by the Wheeler High School Band from Marietta, Georgia, and the King's Academy High School Band from Sunnyvale, California. The joint bands will now perform the Armed Forces Salute to conclude our ceremony. Following the performance, please remain to receive directions for the formation of the National Vietnam Veterans Day Parade. Ladies and gentlemen, the Marine Forces Pacific Band, the Wheeler High School Band, and the King's Academy Band. Staff Sergeant Fihaki, take it away. Thank you. Marine Forces Pacific Band, Wheeler High School, and Kings Academy. Now, that concludes our parade ceremony today. Troops, you're dismissed to head over to Kalakaua Avenue for the parade. All of my military troops, you can dismiss on your commands. Head over to Kalakaua Avenue. Bands, Marine Band, you're dismissed to head over to the parade. Wheeler High School, Kings Academy, follow the Marine Band. Under your management, on your tour managers, follow them over to the parade route. For my veterans, may I have your attention, please? All veterans who are able to walk and are planning to walk in the parade, you can take this time now to head over